This day, when a searing tragedy struck in a place parents felt their children were safe. Police canvassing gun shops and firing ranges within 15 miles of Newtown, Connecticut.
24 hours later, an almost incomprehensible picture emerging tonight from Norway after those two horrific terror attacks.
In the shadow of unthinkable tragedy, the deadliest mass shootings in recent history have not only shattered lives, but also ignited fierce debates on gun control, mental health, and societal safety. From the haunting echoes of gunfire in school hallways to the piercing silence of mourning communities, these catastrophic events have left indelible marks on the collective consciousness of nations worldwide. As we delve into the harrowing details of the top 10 mass shootings, each story unfolds, revealing the profound impact of violence and the resilient spirit of those left to pick up the pieces. Las Vegas shooting, October 1st, 2017. On the night of October 1st, 2017, the city of Las Vegas faced an unprecedented tragedy. Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old retired accountant, orchestrated the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. From his 32nd floor suite at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, Paddock opened fire on a crowd of 22,000 concert-goers at the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival across the street. The attack lasted approximately 10 minutes, but left a permanent scar on the nation. The perpetrator, Stephen Paddock, was known as a high-stakes gambler who lived a life of quiet retirement with his girlfriend in Mesquite, Nevada. Prior to the attack, he had meticulously planned the shooting, amassing an arsenal of weapons and modifying semi-automatic rifles with bump stocks to increase their firing rate. Despite extensive investigations, Paddock's motives remain a mystery, with no criminal history or clear ideological affiliations that could explain the brutality of his actions. Paddock methodically planned his attack, bringing numerous firearms and thousands of rounds of ammunition to his hotel room, which overlooked the festival site. He used a hammer-like device to smash the windows of his suite before unleashing a barrage of bullets onto the unsuspecting crowd below. The rapid gunfire created a state of confusion and panic among the festival attendees, many of whom initially mistook the sounds for fireworks. The shooting claimed the lives of 60 individuals and injured hundreds more, marking it as one of the most horrific acts of violence in American history. Victims included young adults, parents, and retirees who had gathered for a night of music and celebration, only to be caught in a deadly rampage. Among the deceased were Heather Alvarado, 35, a devoted mother and wife from Cedar City, Utah, who was described by her family as a selfless individual, always ready to help others. Charleston Hartfield, 34, an off-duty Las Vegas police officer and military veteran known for his commitment to service and his community, tragically killed while attending the concert. Jennifer Parks, 36, a kindergarten teacher from California, known for her kindness and dedication to her students, who attended the festival with her husband. The Las Vegas shooting prompted a national response. Bump stocks were banned in 2018, security measures were increased, and Memorial's advocacy efforts keep the victim's memory alive, pushing for stricter gun control to prevent future tragedies. Orlando nightclub shooting, June 12, 2016. In the early hours of June 12, 2016, a devastating act of violence shook the Orlando community and the nation. Omar Mateen, a 29-year-old security guard, entered Pulse, a popular gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida, and opened fire on the patrons. The attack resulted in the deaths of 49 people and injuries to 53 others, marking it as one of the deadliest shootings in U.S. history and the nation's worst terror attack since 9/11. The perpetrator, Omar Mateen, was a U.S. citizen born to Afghan immigrants. Prior to the attack, Mateen had been investigated by the FBI, but was not under surveillance at the time. During the attack, he pledged allegiance to ISIS via 911 calls, though subsequent investigations suggested a complex blend of motives including homophobia, psychological instability, and a desire for notoriety. Mateen's interactions with extremist content online and his troubled personal life contributed to a profile that was both conflicted and dangerous. Mateen entered Pulse nightclub armed with a Sig Sauer MCX semi-automatic rifle and a Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol. After beginning his shooting spree, he took hostages, leading to a 3-hour standoff with police. The situation ended when law enforcement breached the building using an armored vehicle and tactical explosives, and Mateen was killed in the ensuing shootout. The attack targeted a sanctuary for the LGBTQ community, leaving a deep scar on those directly affected and the broader community. Victims ranged from young adults to middle-aged individuals, each with their own unique stories and contributions to society. Stanley Almodovar III, 23, a pharmacy technician known for his vibrant and caring personality, remembered for his dedication to helping others. Amanda Alvear, 25, a nursing student who loved to share her life's moments on social media, tragically capturing part of the attack on her phone. Edward Sotomayor Jr., 34, a marketing professional and advocate for LGBTQ rights, known for his charismatic and loving nature. The Pulse nightclub shooting sparked national conversations on gun control, LGBTQ rights, and counterterrorism. Security at nightclubs increased, and the LGBTQ community united through advocacy and solidarity. Annual events honor the victims and promote civil rights, highlighting their lasting impact on the fight for equality. Virginia Tech shooting, April 16, 2007. On April 16, 2007, the Virginia Tech community in Blacksburg, Virginia, experienced one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. Seung-Hui Cho, a 23-year-old senior at Virginia Tech, executed a meticulously planned attack that left 32 people dead and 17 others injured. The massacre unfolded in 2 separate attacks approximately 2 hours apart, first in a dormitory and later in a classroom building, leaving the nation in shock and mourning. The perpetrator, Seung-Hui Cho, was a student at Virginia Tech, majoring in English. He had a history of severe mental health issues, which had been partially addressed during his earlier school years. Cho had been diagnosed with severe anxiety disorders and had received therapy and special education support. Despite this, his underlying mental health problems were not fully recognized or treated in the years leading up to the shooting. On the day of the attack, Cho sent a package to NBC News containing a manifesto-like statement, videos, and photographs, which painted a picture of a deeply troubled young man consumed by rage and resentment. The tragedy began early in the morning in the West Ambler Johnston dormitory, where Cho shot 2 students. He then returned to his own dorm room to rearm and mail his manifesto before entering Norris Hall, where he chained the doors shut and commenced shooting students and faculty in multiple classrooms. The massacre ended when Cho took his own life as law enforcement officers breached the building. The Virginia Tech massacre deeply affected students, faculty, and families connected to the university, as well as the broader national community. Victims included Liviu Librescu, 76, a Romanian Israeli-American professor and Holocaust survivor who heroically blocked his classroom door to allow students to escape through windows, ultimately sacrificing his own life. Ross Alamedin, 20, a student from Massachusetts known for his love of literature and humor, whose life was tragically cut short in the classroom shootings. Emily Hilscher, 19, one of the first victims killed in the dormitory attack. She was studying animal and poultry sciences and was known for her passion for animals. Campus security and mental health support received national focus. Alert systems and support services increased, reigniting gun control debates. A day of remembrance honors victims, with memorials and scholarships keeping their memory alive. Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, December 14, 2012. On December 14, 2012, one of the most heart-wrenching tragedies in American history unfolded at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old former student of the school, entered the facility and carried out a mass shooting that resulted in the deaths of 20 young children aged 6 and 7, as well as 6 adult staff members before he ended his own life. The perpetrator, Adam Lanza, had struggled with significant mental health issues for most of his life, including diagnoses of Asperger's syndrome and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Despite receiving some mental health treatment, Lanza's condition seemed to have deteriorated in the years leading up to the shooting, as noted in various reports and investigations. His motivations for the attack remain largely speculative, with no conclusive evidence providing a clear rationale for his actions, which were premeditated and involved the killing of his mother at their home before he went to the school. The morning of the massacre, Lanza shot his mother, Nancy Lanza, in their home before driving to Sandy Hook Elementary. Upon arrival, he forcibly entered the building by shooting through a locked glass door. Once inside, he used a semi-automatic rifle to shoot victims in 2 first-grade classrooms and an office area. The attack lasted only a few minutes but left a profound impact on the community and the nation. The young ages of the children and the heroic actions of the staff who tried to protect them magnified the horror of the Sandy Hook shooting. Among the victims were Charlotte Bacon, 6, a bright and cheerful girl who loved animals and wearing her new pink dress and boots; Victoria Soto, 27, a first-grade teacher who hid her students in a closet and cabinets, ultimately sacrificing her life to save them; Dawn Hochsprung, 47. The school principal, remembered for her dedication to her students and for rushing toward Lanza in an attempt to stop him, which cost her life. School safety and gun control debates intensified. States passed some laws, but federal action stalled. The community and nation remember through memorials and initiatives like Sandy Hook Promise, aiming to prevent future tragedies and improve student safety, well-being. Christchurch Mosque shootings, March 15, 2019. The Christchurch Mosque shootings marked one of New Zealand's darkest days. Brenton Tarrant, a 28-year-old Australian national, targeted 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand, during Friday prayers, killing 51 worshippers and injuring dozens. The attack was characterized by its racial motivation and was part of a planned assault targeting the Muslim community. The perpetrator, Tarrant, was a self-proclaimed white supremacist who had meticulously planned the attacks to maximize the impact and attention. Prior to the attack, he published a manifesto online detailing his extremist right-wing views and his intentions to create fear within Muslim communities. Tarrant used body-worn cameras to live stream the first attack on social media, aiming to spread his hateful message as widely as possible. On the day of the attack, Tarrant drove to the Al-Noor Mosque and began shooting at the people gathered for prayers. After several minutes of gunfire, he left the scene and drove to the Linwood Islamic Center, where he continued his shooting spree. The attacks were marked by their brutal efficiency and the cold-blooded intent to inflict maximum casualties. The victims of the Christchurch shootings included men, women, and children who represented a broad cross-section of the local Muslim community, with many having moved to New Zealand seeking safety and a better life. Among the victims were Haji Daoud Nabi, 71, the Afghan refugee who greeted the attacker at the mosque doors with the words, "Hello, brother," offering friendship to someone who would take his life moments later. Atta Elayan, 33, a Kuwait-born entrepreneur and national futsal player remembered for his vibrant energy and kindness. Muqad Ibrahim, 3. The youngest victim, known for his playful smile and innocence, who was attending the mosque with his father and brother. Gun control laws tightened in NZ, banning semi-automatics, highlighting online radicalization and white supremacy. Ardern's leadership and memorials honor victims, promoting diversity and inspiring global action against hate. Utoya Island shooting, July 22, 2011. The Utoya Island shooting in Norway is one of the most devastating acts of violence in recent European history. Anders Behring Breivik, a 32-year-old Norwegian far-right extremist, targeted a youth camp on Utoya Island, organized by the Workers' Youth League, AUF, affiliated with the Norwegian Labour Party. This brutal attack resulted in the deaths of 69 people, most of them teenagers. Earlier that day, Breivik had detonated a bomb in Oslo, targeting government buildings and killing 8 more people, making the total death toll 77. The perpetrator, Anders Behring Breivik, planned his attacks with chilling precision and clear ideological motives. His manifesto, published online just hours before the attacks, outlined his opposition to Islam and multiculturalism. Breivik's actions were intended to be a wake-up call to Norway and the rest of Europe, which he believed was being weakened by liberal immigration policies and the erosion of traditional Christian values. Breivik, disguised as a police officer, took a ferry to Utoya Island, claiming he was there to perform a routine check following the bombings in Oslo. Once he arrived, he began shooting at the unsuspecting camp attendees, systematically hunting them down for over an hour until the real police arrived and he surrendered. The attack was marked by its brutality and the young age of most of the victims. The majority of the victims were teenagers engaged in summer political activities, aspiring to make contributions to their society. Their deaths not only devastated families, but also sent shockwaves through the entire political system of Norway. Among the victims were Tamta Liparteliani, 23, a Georgian youth political activist, found with her phone still in hand, having tried to call for help. Bano Rashid, who was 18, a Norwegian of Kurdish descent who was passionate about multiculturalism and dreamed of becoming a member of the Norwegian parliament. Norway tightened security and reaffirmed democratic values. Memorials and education programs address right-wing extremism, highlighting the fight against it while preserving freedom. Port Arthur Massacre, April 28, 1996. The Port Arthur Massacre remains one of the deadliest shooting sprees in Australian history. On April 28, 1996, Martin Bryant, a 28-year-old man with intellectual disabilities, opened fire at the historic Port Arthur site in Tasmania, Australia. His rampage resulted in the deaths of 35 people and the wounding of 23 others, profoundly shocking the nation and prompting significant changes in the country's gun laws. The perpetrator, Martin Bryant, was known in his community for his troubled behavior and intellectual challenges. Before the massacre, Bryant had no criminal record but was known to local police due to his odd behavior and the belief that he posed a risk to himself and others. His motives for the massacre remain poorly understood, as Bryant provided inconsistent and confused explanations for his actions, reflecting his mental health issues. Bryant began his day at the Broad Arrow Cafe at the Port Arthur Historic Site, where he ate lunch before opening fire on visitors with a semi-automatic rifle. After leaving the cafe, he continued shooting at other site locations, including the gift shop and a nearby toll booth, showing a random pattern of violence. Bryant eventually took hostages in a local guest house, which led to a standoff with police that ended the following day when he set the guest house on fire and was subsequently captured. The victims were mostly tourists visiting the historic site, ranging in age from young children to the elderly. Among them were Nanette Mikak and her daughters Alana and Madeline, ages 6 and 3. They were killed as they tried to flee. Their deaths became a poignant symbol of the tragedy. Walter Mikach, Nanette's husband, later became a prominent advocate for gun control in Australia. The Port Arthur Massacre spurred major Australian gun law reforms, including the National Firearms Agreement, which restricted private ownership of high-capacity semi-automatic rifles. That led to a gun buyback program that destroyed over 600,000 firearms. This event also led to the creation of the Alana and Madeline Foundation, advocating for child safety and demonstrating the powerful impact of swift legislative action. Columbine High School shooting, April 20th, 1999. The Columbine High School shooting, occurring on April 20th, 1999 in Littleton, Colorado, marked a seminal moment in American social and educational history. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, two students at the school, carried out a meticulously planned attack that left 12 students and 1 teacher dead and 24 others injured before they ended their own lives. The perpetrators, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, were seniors at Columbine High School. Both had exhibited signs of troubling behavior before the attack, which included making threats and expressing violent ideas in writings and videos. Their motives appeared to be a complex blend of personal grievances, a desire for notoriety, and a profound disdain for their school environment. The two had planned the massacre for over a year, intending originally for it to be a larger bombing that failed to fully materialize. The attack began when Harris and Klebold planted bombs in the school's cafeteria, which failed to detonate. They then proceeded to shoot students and staff outside and inside the school. The situation escalated into a hostage crisis when the shooters barricaded themselves in the school library, where most of the killings occurred.
Yes, this is Sharon at Columbine High School. We have shots being fired. Okay. Guy is in a black trench coat. Checking the front guy. They just shot somebody inside the cafeteria. I'm going to have to try and get out here and call you back.
The siege ended with both perpetrators committing suicide. The victims of the Columbine shooting included students and a teacher, all remembered for their individual stories and the collective tragedy that cut short their lives. Rachel Scott, 17. The first victim of the shooting, known for her compassionate nature and artistic talent. Her life and writings inspired the creation of Rachel's Challenge, a program promoting kindness and nonviolence in schools. Dave Sanders, 47, a teacher and coach who died while trying to save students. He is remembered for his heroism and the profound impact he had on his students. Columbine became a catalyst for a transformative national discourse on gun control, school safety, and the impact of media on youth behavior, leading to significant enhancements in school security protocols, such as zero-tolerance policies and increased on-campus police presence, while also spurring discussions on the social climate in schools and the need to address bullying and social isolation. Reflecting on its legacy, Columbine has profoundly influenced law enforcement tactics and educational policies, continuing to drive legislative and societal changes aimed at improving school safety and mental health support as the community and the world remember the victims and learn from this pivotal tragedy. Sutherland Springs Church shooting, November 5, 2017. On November 5, 2017, the small town of Sutherland Springs, Texas, was rocked by a devastating act of violence when Devin Patrick Kelly entered the First Baptist Church during Sunday services and opened fire on the congregation. The attack resulted in 26 deaths, making it the deadliest church shooting in U.S. history and one of the deadliest mass shootings in the state of Texas. The perpetrator, Devin Patrick Kelly, a 26-year-old former Air Force member, had a history of domestic violence, including a court-martial in 2012 for assaulting his wife and stepson. Due to administrative errors, Kelly's conviction was not entered into the National Criminal Information Center database, which allowed him to purchase firearms illegally. Kelly's motives for the attack are believed to be rooted in personal grievances, particularly involving his in-laws, who occasionally attended services at the church but were not present on the day of the shooting. Kelly arrived at the church dressed in tactical gear and armed with a Ruger AR-556 rifle. He began shooting outside the church before entering the building and continuing his rampage, methodically shooting the attendees. The attack lasted only a few minutes, but ended in significant loss of life and multiple injuries. The massacre concluded when a local resident, Stephen Williford, engaged Kelly in a gunfire exchange, wounding him. Kelly fled in his vehicle and later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after crashing his car. The victims ranged from an unborn child to elderly members of the community, encompassing multiple generations of families and deeply impacting the close-knit town. Joanne Ward, 30. A mother who died shielding her children from gunfire. 2 of her children also perished in the attack. Lula Woysinski, white, 71. The 71-year-old grandmother was among those who lost their lives. She was the shooter's grandmother-in-law. The Sutherland Springs shooting spurred gun control debates and led to U.S. Air Force reforms in criminal reporting. With a new church and annual memorials, the tragedy emphasizes the need for stricter gun laws and improved public security, showcasing community resilience and the push for violence prevention. Dunblane School Massacre, March 13, 1996. The Dunblane School Massacre is one of the darkest days in the history of the United Kingdom. Thomas Hamilton, a 43-year-old former scout leader, entered the Dunblane Primary School in Scotland and opened fire on a gym class full of young children and their teacher, resulting in the deaths of 16 children and 1 adult before Hamilton took his own life. The perpetrator, Thomas Hamilton, had been known to local authorities due to previous allegations and complaints related to inappropriate behavior towards young boys through his youth clubs. Despite these concerns, he legally owned firearms. His motives for the massacre remain unclear, though it is speculated that his anger towards the community and personal grievances may have played a role in his devastating actions. On the morning of the attack, Hamilton made his way into the school gymnasium armed with 4 handguns. He opened fire on a class of 5- and 6-year-old children who were preparing for a sports activity. After killing 17 people and injuring 15 others, Hamilton committed suicide, ending the massacre. The victims were primarily young children, whose potential and future were tragically cut short. Among the victims were Victoria Clydesdale, 5, known for her bright smile and eagerness to learn. Victoria was one of the first children shot. Gwen Mayer, 45. The teacher of the class, remembered for her devotion to her students and her bravery in trying to shield them during the attack. The Dunblane massacre prompted significant UK gun control laws, banning private handgun ownership and reflecting a shift in public opinion. The tragedy left a lasting legacy of advocacy and vigilance in Dunblane, with annual remembrances and ongoing efforts to improve community safety.